A lot of us went through 2020 and it made us really look long and hard at what we were doing, what we could do better, and what we could do a little bit less of. I write grants about 3 times a year for this organization, but I feel like if I was given the opportunity to do it full time, I would do really well at it. And I both took a little leap of faith, and it's working well for both of us, I think. I wrote that first grant and it was not funded, but it became kind of a quest.
Melessa is an in-house grant writer for a nonprofit that provides shelter, examinations, counseling, and other resources to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. And as a woman, we are all, I believe, either directly impacted or 1 degree from something to this sort. Today's conversation, though it's filtered, you will see that the magic that she is creating for her community is unparalleled. It is beautiful, and it brought me to my knees as we chatted in our conversation. I am so beyond excited and inspired to invite you to talk to Melessa today with me, because she is making such a difference in this community and just reminded me of the power of the why we show up every day. And I am so blessed to be able to be in this community of grant writers who are making an impact and making the world better than when they found it. So meet Melessa. I hope you are just as inspired as I am. Melessa, I am so honored that you have chosen to share bits and pieces of your story with us today.
Thank you.
Before you came to the collective, how familiar were you with grant writing?
Before I came to my current position, I was an executive director at a historic house museum, and my absolute favorite part of the job was writing grants, even though that really was just a small part of my overall job. And I took a nonprofit certification class with a cohort, one of whom worked where I work now. And I remember telling her in the class, well, if there's any way I could ever work to support your organization, I love what you do. We were really just kind of joking about it because I was very well established at where I was and what I was doing.
Yeah.
A lot of us, we went through 2020 and it made us really look long and hard at what we were doing and what we could do better and what we could do a little bit less of. I started just kind of looking a little bit for grant writing positions. I wasn't super intense about it because I did love where I was at the museum. And lo and behold, a grant writing position opened up at that organization, and we are now co-workers.
That is so magical.
I was very transparent in my interview with the executive director. I said, I write grants about 3 times a year for this organization, but I feel like if I was given the opportunity to do it full time, I would do really well at it. And I both took a little leap of faith, and it's working well for both of us, I think.
Now that you're in this full-time grant writer role and you're in the collective, do you feel like your grant writing skills have blossomed under that intense focus?
Absolutely. And I really think it needed both. I was experienced at grant writing, but at a very specific type of grant, which isn't what I'm doing now. I'm writing all kinds of, not just foundation, but federal, state. Being part of the collective has given me a network of, I wouldn't say people, but really friends that I can reach out to for support as I expand what I'm doing with my grant writing career. I really love the certification program, and shout out to the human-centered design. I think I take parts of it with me every day now as I work here full time. I thought I knew a lot about grant writing. I had the heart for it, but the collective really has given me the actual tools I need to do an effective job here.
I love that you resonated with the human-centered design, because you're right. Once it hits the light bulb, you're like, oh, this is the only way to live life, is to make sure that the people that we are serving are front and center of all of it. Talk to me about the pivot from executive director to a staff member.
Having been a director during the pandemic, we're a historic house museum. We weren't having a lot of general admission or the field trips that we did. The responsibility was very heavy. And even though we were pretty much back to normal before I left that position, it's nice just to carry the weight of the grant writing on my shoulders, which is still fairly heavy, but not the weight of the entire organization on my shoulders.
Is there anything you miss?
We did children's field trips. It's completely unrelated to what I do now, but I do miss that a little bit. I don't always know everything that's happening in this organization. I miss a little bit being in the know about absolutely everything. And then again, I don't necessarily want being in the know about absolutely everything.
Oh, that's such a beautiful way to put that. Talk to me about your tremendous success in your organization. Tell me about what you're most proud of.
Really briefly to describe what I do, I am the full-time grant writer for an agency that operates the family violence shelter for our county, that operates a sexual assault crisis center, and that operates a community services office that provides services to people who maybe don't need a full-time shelter, but who still need access to services. We were looking for playground equipment for the shelter. I wrote that first grant, and it was not funded, but it became kind of a quest. In addition to assisting with the federal grants that our organization already receives and some of the state funding, a lot of the grant program was already in place before I came on board. I started seeking some kind of funding for playground equipment just after I came home from vacation about a month ago. There was a note on my desk from the director who was out that day with the package, with the grant acceptance letter, and with a note from her thanking me for that and expressing that she was disappointed she wasn't going to be there to see my reaction to that. We now have funding in place. We had some donations set aside. Now we're able to fully fund new playground equipment at the shelter. And there are bigger things that we do in this organization every day. But this playground equipment was a big deal to me because it was the first project that was floated when I came to work here. And it took me a year, but we got there.
You're exactly right. Lots of your funding is going to emergency crises, to people who need the funding now. We not only deserve safe spaces in terms of beds and food, and services that help us get on our feet. The playground to me just symbolizes this element of their experience that normalizes maybe something that is really, really hard in their life. In that moment, they can go outside with their kids and play on that playground. And the dignity in that is huge.
I work in the office. I'm writing grants. I'm not there working where they work every day. We have counseling services and therapy services, mental health services available to the adults. Children process things differently. One of the ways they process those things is by playing. Currently have equipment. It's a little dated. So to have outdated equipment and to have a place where parents and children can go just to enjoy some time together during a time that's stressful, it's important on a lot of levels. It's important for the parents to reconnect with their children. It's also how children process.
I love that it's new equipment because it also tells them subconsciously that they deserve great things in life.
Exactly.
I also just want to acknowledge that you're still getting good money for something that we think of as probably not that expensive, but actually is a lot of money. So congratulations.
It is expensive. You would not be surprised, but I think a lot of people would be surprised.
Yeah, I think they would be too. Have you had a valley of despair moment on this journey?
Obviously, there's been a lot of stress around the federal grant situation. Yeah. And as I went to apply, we're subgrantees in our state. And so as I went to fill out applications that I'd been told when I was hired, we do this every year. I will walk you through it and it will be fine. To go to a place from there, what my coworkers and my boss told me were, do your best. This is a situation we didn't foresee. And whatever happens, it won't be your fault. Yeah. With my personality, what I took from that is if we don't get this funding, it's all over and it's all your fault. That's what I took from it, not what anyone said.
Yep.
We did still get that federal funding, the unknowns, and there's still unknowns. That's just one of many that we're going to walk through. I would say in this next 12 months, but probably longer than that.
In the next couple of years. Yeah, I think we're in for some surprises.
I think we are too.
Will you share what subgrantee means?
Subgrantee is our state applies on behalf of the agencies that would apply to the federal government, and then the state receives the money and divides that between the agencies that apply.
It's really important for us to understand the different ways that federal funding shows up in our places that we live. And that's one of the ways that this happens that also often gets confused with state funding versus federal funding. So thank you for illuminating and teaching us about that.
Thank you for asking. I learned that again when I came to work here. When you work at a museum and you're writing grants, there are a lot of foundation grants. The federal grants and being a subgrantee was new to me.
Good thing is that you didn't know what it was before. Now you just get to make your own path.
And that's what I kept telling my boss and my coworkers. I'm like, well, I'm new to this. So whatever new restrictions or rules, whatever new requirements are in place, that's all I've ever known. We're very grateful to still be funded. We're grateful to still be here to be able to provide service and care to our clients at the same level we've always provided to them. And we're grateful for the acknowledgement of the state and of the federal government that these services are important.
Tremendously. Is there things that you're doing on your funding research or other things where you're starting to think about how to bolster the ways that you get funding if in case something doesn't get funded in the future?
Those are conversations that are taking place with the executive director and the board. There's definitely a lot of conversation around that. As I mentioned, going back a few minutes, I'm no longer necessarily in the know about absolutely everything, but federal grants and as sub-grantees, those were never our only source of revenue. They're incredibly helpful. And as I mentioned, we're glad that for now we are still funded and still able to provide these services, but we weren't always sub-grantees. This was a grassroots organization. It's been around since the late 70s. That was never our only source of revenue. And as those conversations are taking place, some of it has to do with grants, obviously, and I'm privy to those conversations. And some of it has to do with parts of the organization that are out of my service areas. I think it helped that I did have familiarity with foundation grants coming on board, because that wasn't something that this organization applied for very often before I came along and could add that in.
I'm sure that that is a great arrow in your quiver as we look at the different ways that we get to try to fund our organizations in the next couple of years.
I hope so. And I'm grateful for the relationships in any circumstance, because I enjoy them.
So one thing that AI can't take away from us is these human-to-human connections, and I love that. Why do you wake up and do this work every day?
I mentioned what our organization does. We take care of people who haven't yet, in most circumstances, found a voice for themselves. We help bridge their time between not knowing how to speak up and learning how to speak up. Being able to be a part of that means everything to me. I've been familiar with this organization since childhood. It's been around in my hometown. Being connected to it is wonderful, but knowing who we're serving is my why.
Every day when I'm having a sad day or a bad day, or I get scared about the state of the world, I come into our wins and gratitude section of our community and I just look at the incredible work that you all are doing every single day. And I am just in awe and in complete gratitude for the fact that you do wake up and you serve people every single day that need safe spaces. And I'm very, 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 very thankful. So thank you.
Thank you.